everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be presenting 5 amazing Billy the Kid westerns you must see. Now, Billy the Kid is one of the most famous American outlaws, and throughout the decades, Hollywood has had a fascination with retelling the Billy the Kid story. Some of them have worked beautifully, others have been criticised for being inaccurate. Whatever the case, I've plucked out 5 pretty amazing Billy the Kid movies, and I think if you're a Western lover, you must see these films at least once. Now, these films in the list haven't been presented in any particular order, so it will be left to you to decide which one you think is the best. So let's saddle up and get straight into the countdown. Number 5 on my list is Billy the Kid from 1941. This film stars Robert Taylor as Billy the Kid. It co-stars Brian Don Levy as Pat Garrett, although in this retelling, Brian plays the fictionalised character of Jim Sherwood, but really, we know it's Pat. So keep that in mind when you watch this one. But anyway, this is a remake of the 1930 Billy the Kid, but this version has been updated, it's colorised, and it has the star power of Robert Taylor. Now, Taylor at the time was considered a little bit old to step into Billy's shoes. He was 30 years of age when this film was released, and Don Levy, who plays Garrett, or should I say Sherwood, was actually 40 years of age. So if you're new to some of these older actors and you've heard the name Robert Taylor, this is a pretty good entry point. Watching him play one of the most famous outlaws of all time, he really digs deep and tries to give the part a fresh take. Whatever the case, this is a rather compelling little film directed by David Miller. Number 4 on my list is the notorious Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid from 1973. Now, this film was directed by Sam Peckinpah, who gave us The Wild Bunch. And the film stars singer/actor Chris Christopherson as Billy the Kid, and Pat Garrett is played by James Coburn. Now, this film is an interesting take. It focuses on the ageing Pat Garrett, who has been employed as a lawman by some wealthy New Mexico cattle barons to go and hunt and take down Billy the Kid. Now, one of the remarkable aspects of this Western is it does feature a unique music score that was composed by Bob Dylan. Dylan also appears in the film and unleashes the song Knocking on Heaven's Door. Some people at the time felt that Dylan's track seemed out of place in a Western, but this is a Peckinpah film and it's trying to do something very different. But I think if you're a Dylan fan, you will really embrace that unique musical aspect to this production. Now, some people really adore this film, others find it rather tedious, and some of the dialogue even indecipherable. So wherever you sit with this, it is a bit of a divisive film. It is long. Peckinpah is adding that signature style. But at the end of the day, this film had a bit of a troubled production history, and Peckinpah clashed with MGM over and over again about the final cut of the film. And the one that was finally theatrically released, Peckinpah felt terrible about. He couldn't stand that cut of the film. And some of the cast and crew were also upset at that theatrical cut. So as time has moved on, this film has resurfaced in a couple of different versions throughout the years, so you will be able to find those on DVD or Blu-ray, and it's a film that has been open to re-evaluation. Those that felt it wasn't that great on initial release have watched it many years later, looked at it through a different lens, and found this one of the most unique Billy the Kid stories ever put to celluloid. So it's a bit of an odd take, this one. Coburn is always cool, and Chris Christopherson, he could be considered an odd choice, but he was a bit of an upcoming star back in the 70s, and he does do a unique interpretation of the character. So this is a Peckinpah movie that tries a lot of odd things. And whatever the case, it is overloaded with amazing elements. Dylan's input is just one of them, but it's a Western that has to be seen. It's one that's worthy of dissection, and it's just such a unique take on the Billy the Kid tale. And Sam Peckinpah was a director who was sometimes referred to as Mad Sam, and he often had a rather unhinged take on things. And as you would expect, that slow motion violence is there just as it was in The Wild Bunch. Number 3 on my list is The Kid from Texas from 1950. This Billy the Kid story stars Audie Murphy as Billy. And Audie Murphy, of course, was one of America's most decorated World War II soldiers. And I've always felt that he adds a unique presence to a Western, and him starring as Billy the Kid is no exception. This was actually Murphy's first Technicolor Western. And Murphy always had a youngish look, so he does fit the role of Billy quite well. Now, The Kid from Texas was directed by Kurt Newman, and Pat Garrett is played by the character actor Frank Wilcox. Now, this take on the tale focuses on Billy's involvement in the Lincoln County Wars, and we follow Billy's journey as he becomes a wanted fugitive, and it's a unique take. And I've always found that Audie Murphy has an extremely likeable on-screen presence. He's very charismatic, he's rather cool, and I just think he fits into Western roles almost effortlessly. So he looks great in this film, and as far as Billy the Kid tales go, it's straightforward, to the point, and always entertaining. Number 2 on my list is The Left-Handed Gun from 1958, starring Paul Newman as Billy the Kid. This film also marks the directorial debut of Arthur Penn. Now, some people are very mixed over Paul Newman's portrayal of Billy the Kid in this film. Some will have you believe his acting is rather ridiculous, while others find that it is really a unique Newman performance. I tend to think the latter. I think Newman fares okay in this. He plays a bit of a hothead, and he also portrays him with an underbelly of darkness. He is really a juvenile that is mixed up, acting on impulse and about to explode. So I think for the most part, Newman is rather compelling, and this is an engaging little psychological Western. It's shot in black and white. It would have looked great in colour, but in some ways those black and white tones make this tale even more engaging. Now, this film really portrays Billy as a misunderstood youth who gets mixed up in a cattle war, and the American critics weren't so kind at the time, but the French critics were very complimentary, and they felt that this film really had a lot to say. Now, Paul Newman at the time was 33 years of age, so he's way too old to be playing an outlaw teenager. But whatever the case, it seems Newman at times was somewhat channeling a James Dean-style performance here. He really must have studied Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, I think, because he adds that certain spark to this portrayal. So it's unique, it's not for everyone, but it must be seen. Now, this film was based on Gore Vidal's teleplay, The Death of Billy the Kid, and it unexpectedly flopped in the United States, which at that time was a little bit of a surprise considering Paul Newman was fastly becoming one of America's biggest movie stars. So we have Newman as Billy, we have John Denyer as Pat Garrett this time, and I find this movie rather compelling. It's unique, it's intriguing, and The Left-Handed Gun, the title speaks for itself. Many would have you believe that Billy was left-handed, or did those historians view those early photos incorrectly? You be the judge. But whatever the case, it's a unique film. The title of the film, The Left-Handed Gun, really has a strong attraction. And if you couple that with the star power of Paul Newman, this is a Billy the Kid tale that really deserves your attention. Number one on my list is Young Guns from 1988. This film stars Emilio Estevez as Billy the Kid, and in many ways, this is the most celebrated Billy the Kid movie. This is the one that came out of the starting gates and became a blockbuster in the summer of '88. So yes, Young Guns made over 50 million on a budget of 11 million, so it's one of the most successful Billy the Kid stories of all time, and it really had youth audiences engaged in this retelling of the Billy the Kid tale. So this was a film that adults took their kids to, and it opened the floodgates for more discussion about Billy. Now, I think Emilio Estevez really suits this role, and he's surrounded by a group of very talented, high-profile young actors. In support, we have Kiefer Sutherland as Doc, we have Lou Diamond Phillips as Chavez, we have Dermot Mulroney as Dirty Steve, we have Casey Simasco as Charlie Baldry, and of course we have Emilio's brother, Charlie Sheen, as Dick. So this is a film with a lot of splash when it comes to its young cast, and it came with a real intriguing marketing campaign, 6 reasons why the West was wild, and in some ways it was taking a leaf out of the Magnificent Seven with that bold marketing campaign. But Young Guns is a very entertaining film. It's very quick to the draw, and there's loads of action, some funny one-liners in this. The performances are really good, and I think that this is a Billy the Kid tale that just entertains from start to finish. We also have a marvellous supporting role by Terence Stamp. He plays John Tunstall, a rancher, who takes in Billy and these young men and tries to refine them and turn them into gentlemen. But things don't go as planned, and John Tunstall is shot dead. And this is a bit of a Billy the Kid revenge tale as Billy and the boys go completely nuts and decide to go after the culprits. And Emilio Estevez plays this as a real hot-headed young man. He's just about to explode. From the first moment we see him to the last, he's always on the edge, he's quick to the draw, and he's full of energy. So Emilio adds a certain charisma to this role. He makes Billy rather likeable, and I think that's why audiences just want to keep saddling up for more. So this movie is connectable. It may not be historically accurate at times, But watching these guys strutting their stuff in these Western duds is very entertaining, and it's just an explosive take on the Billy the Kid tale. So Young Guns, I'm sure many of you have seen it, and if you haven't, well, what are you waiting for? It is well worth your time. And they even did a sequel 2 years later in 1990. Most of the cast came back, well, those that survived, and we had the injection of some other young men like Christian Slater and Alan Ruck in that second film. And there's some talk at the moment that Emilio is about to start production on Young Guns 3. So a third Young Guns film is in the works. We can probably expect that sometime in 2026. So the Young Guns films are a real franchise. And I think the real Billy the Kid would be absolutely shocked to think how many times his story has been told. So Young Guns from 1988, a Billy the Kid film loaded with star power. So that completes my presentation on 5 amazing Billy the Kid westerns you must see. But the more I think about it, there are just so many out there. I may return with another countdown very soon. So if you're into Billy the Kid movies, check out these 5 if you haven't, and I might come back and explore 5 more that are worthy of attention. So I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for joining me, and take care.